Hello, brothers and sisters. Before I get started today, I want to explain something. I'm not going to be able to do a video later this week or probably next week. Maybe even after. I don't know yet. I've got a lot going on this week and next, so it's going to be hard to find time to really prepare for another video. So today, I'm just going to go and try to share a bit of what really is bothering me. Note, this is not going to be really trying to explain what they teach. This is just to try to explain why what they teach is something I'm so against. Not this is the worst part or any of that. This is just what really bothers me personally. So starting off, this is going to sound like it doesn't have anything to do with Homestead, heritage, or what they teach. It's going to sound like it's something else entirely, but trust me, there is a point. This is an analogy. This is just me trying to give a way of explaining why it bothers me. As a lot of you have probably heard if you've been watching my videos, and I've shared multiple times, you've seen evidence of, probably partly by what I wear, I love writing. It's one thing I do a lot of. I write some fiction, but what I really love is poetry. Poetry is what I write most. From the perspective that gives me, there's one verse I love that's one of my favorites that sometimes can be overlooked. And that's Genesis 1:2, where it says this: "The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters." Now, I'm not just saying this verse is poetic. No, what I see here is this seems to me like God ready to do his craftsmanship. Verse 1 talks about him creating the heavens and the earth. Here it talks about hovering over the face of the waters. When I read this, I see it as though he is a writer or maybe a painter. He's looking at a blank page, a blank canvas, ready to start his work. He's holding that pen or that brush, and he's about to start his art. You've just got to decide where you're going to begin. You may already have an idea of what kind of image or what kind of story you're going to put on page, but you're deciding where you're going to start. That is always a really neat point in the process. In writing, there's two things you want to make sure you get really well done. First line, last line. Doesn't matter if you're writing a poem, you're writing a book, whatever. Even if the main point of what you're writing is somewhere in the middle, somewhere in between, that last line is what's going to leave a lasting image and really seal it. And the first line is what's going to get people to read it and be interested. First thing God does, let there be light. He's making it to be seen. That's why I love to look at this, as this is his art, and he's going to show his craftsmanship. To consider another side of art, consider you've got that original work is always the one that is the most valuable. When you're a painter, you just have that one that was the original that is considered the most valuable of all. You've got others that are just copies of it. You'll have people go and try to mimic it as perfectly as they can, make it match up as well as they can, but it never is considered of the same value. Look at it from the side of writing. It's like when somebody translates a work. They try to make it so that it's still saying as close to the exact same thing as possible, and it still won't be considered of the same value as the original text. When somebody translates, you'll often see in the book maybe a note in the page, occasionally, maybe even on the cover, a little note of translated by so-and-so. But the one thing you'll never see is you'll never see the original author's name taken off and replaced by the one who translated it. It is never seen as their work. They never receive credit for it. Now, to get into what bothers me. When Jesus came, he He took on the flesh. He took on human form. He is 100% man, 100% God. You look at the teachings of Homestead, some of what I've shared, some of other things that have come up. They have a very clever way of trying to describe it. They talk as though they believe, yes, 100% man, 100% God. But you look at what they're saying, really, as was said in one discussion I had, Jesus of the flesh was not God. So what they're really saying is not 100% man, 100% God. They're saying 50% of him was 100% man. The other 50% was 100% God. Just trying to make it sound like it's good teaching. Jesus was born of a virgin because he couldn't have the taint of the sin nature. He couldn't come from man. He couldn't be a copy. He had to be a new creation. Jesus has always been, is, and always will be God. For him to be 100% God and 100% man, he had to be born of the Virgin. Now consider what Homestead teaches. As they said, in the flesh, not God. Of spirit, the Spirit of God was in him. Look at what Adam said, as I pointed out before. Ultimately, what they're saying is, Jesus was man, God was in him. If that's the case, you're saying a man lived this perfect life, a man who is not God. God used him. Then you take what they say about Christ, about the church being him, about the body, or to them, their community, Homestead, full body being Christ. The reason this bothers me so much is because, from my perspective, this is plagiarism. This was done by God. We are not the ones who do it. He did it. Not by works, lest any man should boast. That's what I see this as. I see them taking credit for the work of God, for his art. Which started off, God created man, then man sinned. Man was tainted. All of his descendants are tainted by sin. All of these translations, all of these copies are not the original work. He creates a new original work, and now you've got places like Homestead Heritage trying to take credit. That's why I'm so upset by this. Everybody I've talked to who is a current member, yes, I have spoken to multiple current members, and every time I only see more and more confirmation the teachings are pointing in this wrong direction. Our faith needs to be in God, not in man, in his work, not our works. I'll see you guys next time I get a chance to do a video, but until then, God bless.